people to do what we tell her to do.
The City of Marine City Commission meeting is called to order on Thursday, March 16th at 7 o'clock. And can we have a moment of silence to send our positive thoughts and prayers to those in our community that need our support? Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and can I get roll call, please?
Commissioner Bryson. Here. Commissioner Hendrick.
Here.
Commissioner Hilfrink.
Here.
Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner Roerig.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Here.
Interim City Manager Heslop.
Here.
And City Attorney Davis.
Here.
Down to item 4, approving the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Support.
I have motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Now, item 5, communication. Can I have a motion to receive and file communications from L. Gerard and Cheryl Verkaman?
Make a motion that we receive and file these communications.
Support.
I have motion and support. And are we going to read those now?
Yes.
If you want them in the record.
Okay.
First one, dated February 10th, to City of Marine City Commissioners and Mayor Vandenbosch from L. Gerard, owner at 1865 South.
Do we always read communications out loud? It seems like we don't.
Only if requested.
And
Like we did at the public hearing, those letters that we put in the record, they only had to be read if we requested.
who made the request?
I think the
It's
people
on
who
the
wrote the
email.
letters made a request.
Yes, there was a request.
Okay.
From L. Gerard, owner at 1865 South Parker, Marine City, regarding marijuana dispensary in Marine City. Vote no on the proposal to allow a marijuana dispensary in the city. Thank you for your time and consideration, L. Gerard. And the second one from Cheryl Verkaman. I'm requesting that this email be added to the next agenda, March 16th, 2023, under communication. On Saturday, February 11th, 2023, City Commissioner Michael R. Hilfrink was arrested and charged with assault and battery and domestic violence. During the arrest and subsequent transport to the St. Clair County Jail, Hilfrink made several comments that are in direct violation of the city charter. Not only did he abuse his position as a city commissioner by calling Police Chief Heslop in the late evening on a Saturday night, he also made several comments during the arrest that he was going to, quote, sue the city, end quote, and that the arrest was, quote, unlawful, end quote. Hilfrink also stated to the arresting officer that the city was going to, quote, buy me a new house, end quote, threatening a lawsuit. This is all witnessed by body camera footage and patrol vehicle footage I obtained through FOIA. On February 16th, 2023, at the City Commission meeting during Commissioner privilege, Commissioner Hilfrink stated publicly that his arrest was, quote, unlawful, and downplayed the incident as a disciplinary issue with his minor daughter. By openly and publicly criticizing our police department, Hilfrink not only violated our city charter, he proved that he is not capable of acting professionally and ethically as a city commissioner. Before any more damage to the city's reputation is done, I am calling for the resignation of Commissioner Hilfrink. Respectfully submitted, Cheryl Verkaman.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Hey, public comment. Anyone is welcome to address the City Commission. Please state your name, limit your comments to 5 minutes. Commission will not respond, but we will follow up as necessary. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Merchant, representing the 300 Broadway Committee. Old City Hall is a city landmark and is part of the master plan in Chapter 4, Future Land Use Plan. As a historic site, it is part of the history of Marine City and has important historical significance. Groups have tried for years to restore this building and have never had a grant opportunity like the one that is on the agenda tonight. This grant is through the MEDC Public Gathering Spaces Initiative and called the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG. The goal of this grant is to increase usability, accessibility, and seasonality within new or existing community spaces on public-owned property. What our committee would like to ask today is that the commission votes to support moving forward with this initiative by scheduling a public hearing at your next commission meeting on April 6th. This is something required by the grant, and allowing our committee to begin the grant process. The application deadline is April 28th at 5 p.m., so the time is of the essence. It can't hurt to try. We are out nothing if we don't get it, and if we do, then that would be amazing. When will the city ever see a possible $2 million grant for this building again? Not just the city, but any group that takes over the building. This chance may never present itself again. Please support this incredible opportunity by voting yes. Thank you.
Backer?
I'm a little bit low down, sorry. Heather Bachram, and I'm here to represent the Historical Society of Marine City. Our organization also asks this commission to please take advantage of the CGLG grant being offered for small communities like ours. This may be your final chance to do something right, to save our historic old City Hall. Please keep in mind that this building belongs to everyone, the citizens of Marine City. Restored, this building can function as a community center once again. But more than that, it can be a source of income to make the building self-sustaining. The Historical Society has been waiting for the chance to become involved again and to be able to use our designated funds for Old City Hall. To that end, we already have applied for a matching grant from the Community Foundation of St. Clair County. These funds would be used to install the vertical lifts required to reach the auditorium level, where the community center would be placed, and therefore making this level ADA compliant. But that's not all. We want to do more. We understand that for years the city has been hesitant to use any funds to maintain this building. If the city actually applies for this grant and retains ownership of the building and continues to seek other grants available to CLGs, the Historical Society will do this. We have had in place for some years an endowment fund with the Community Foundation. We would immediately begin a serious campaign to raise our fund to a much higher level so that the yearly return would be significant. We would direct those additional funds to go to the maintenance of Old City Hall in perpetuity. Under the direction of our organization, and even if the Historical Society would sometime cease to exist, the Community Foundation will make sure that these funds still go to the maintenance of the building, so long as the building is city-owned. And this is already in our bylaws, what would happen if we were no longer around. These are the two things that our organization promises if you, this commission, votes to apply for the CGLG grant and meet other provisions. And as the last note, you would be interested to hear that we are already hearing from folks who are pledging generously to the campaign for an endowment fund. And if I have one more thing to say, I noted in the Voice newspaper today where the city of St. Clair has a large endowment fund, and they are able to give to the city for other purposes $48,000 a year. So it's really something to think about. And I hope when we start this endowment, or start this campaign to make the endowment fund larger, that everybody will consider contributing towards it. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Madam Mayor, members of the commission, my name is Dave Warner. I live on South Main Street in Marine City. And I'm here tonight to voice my support for moving forward on securing a grant of up to $2 million through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for restoring and improving the old City Hall, 300 Broadway. My understanding is that Marine City not only qualifies for the MEDC Community Development Block Grant, but meets all the key criteria for it. And I know there's a short time frame for getting the grant application done, and the city would be required to provide a minimum financial match of 10% if the grant were approved. But we're talking about $2 million here, so yes, let's try. So I would second the request made by the previous two speakers that the city move forward on this and that the commission vote tonight to hold a public hearing at its next scheduled meeting so that the 300 Broadway Committee can begin the grant process as soon as possible. Unlike some other issues being considered, I think restoring the old City Hall to its glory days is something everybody can get behind. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
I didn't notice that. Oh, it's Ray.
Ray Skatarczyk, 771 South Water Street, former TIFA member, former commissioner, former mayor. I was also on the very first 300 Broadway committee. I've been involved with this building from the beginning. So there's no doubt that I'm here in support of this grant. It's a wonderful opportunity. Anytime you can get 100% return on your money, it's fantastic. That building was the center of everything in this city for a long time, probably 80 or 90 years. It was the police department, the fire department. It was the court system. It was where people went to their weekend dances. It has such a rich history. And besides that, architecturally, it can't be recreated. It's invaluable. I've really never understood why this community hasn't really embraced the value of this building. It's truly a porthole to the past. It connects this city to the future. The city's a historic Marine City. This is the linchpin. This is why we're historic Marine City. It's a fantastic building, famous architects. It's our obligation to restore this building to at least a usable condition so that the people in the city can take advantage of it. There's people in this community whose relatives helped build that building. There's people in this community whose relative actually lived in that building. It's just a fantastic opportunity we have. And $2 million would go a long way into giving this building back to the community. That building was abandoned, I think, in, 2006? It's been way too long. That's the people's building. We need to give it back to them. This is a great opportunity. And I think that's all that's really been asked of you tonight is just to have a public hearing. So I encourage you to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, I have a lot to say, but not enough time and not enough memory to say it all. John Sapienza, 126 Jefferson Street. I pretty much agree with everything Ray just said about the building, except, as Ray knows, and as Heather knows, I'm totally against the way they went about it. When I moved here 25 years ago, the first thing I did is went over and offered my help, saying that I considered myself an expert. Now I do. I consider myself an expert on that building, and I think I know more than Michael Kirk. Seeing what Michael Kirk has done to that building is incredibly, it's total malpractice. The biggest thing is the $3 million price tag. You wonder why people don't understand. It's ridiculous. I could have done that building for $200,000. The building is going to need constant maintenance. You guys just wasted money. I went into that building. Brian was nice enough to take me in there. And he probably won't call me after this speech here, but I was disgusted at what I saw in that building. I couldn't believe it. The windows were just hanging. The windows weren't finished. They'd ripped the windows out. The historic artwork of those windows that I said I would restore for free, they ripped them out and spent $200,000, and they're sitting there just wedged in with spacers, and they're just tacked in. They're not finished. They could blow out in a major storm. I looked at, like, just for example, I sat there in this meeting, and my son's like, why is it you can't sit still, Dad? I'm a maintenance man. I hear water dripping. And it's just driving me crazy. I can't sit in a building and hear water drip and not go find out where it's coming from. And then I hear about their water leak, and it's going to cost $100,000. I'm just disgusted at what I'm hearing. I look at the floor, asbestos floor that was laid on top of a beautiful hardwood floor. It could have been scraped off years ago, and we'd have a beautiful hardwood floor. Instead, there's an asbestos floor that's falling apart with asbestos dust. And they're having a meeting about having a party here and bringing people in this building. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? This is disgusting. Well, that's just one of the things I had to talk about. I got a lot more. I said that I was unhappy with 25 years of, I call it corruption in this town, and I'm not happy about it. For example, I just got a liquor license, and the guy in charge of liquor, the control, Derek Jones from Marine City, said, you know, John, this town shuts down at 11 o'clock. All right, what are your plans? I said, well, I plan on shutting down at 11 too, because that's my plan. I want to have a daytime thing, and I really don't want to be open past midnight. But the fact of the matter is, somehow the police shut the town down back in the Lepley days down to 11 o'clock, and all the bars were shut down. How did that happen without the consent of the commission? Did the police just do this on their own and decide to shut the town down? Because a lot of people got hurt. A lot of people got tickets. The police harassed me for years. Why? Because I'm driving home from gigs. Professional musician, 12 to 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming home. I'm the only guy in town. And some cop on the other side of town sees a car here, works his way around to follow me the rest of the way. I got breathalyzed 15, 20 times in this town, never blew over. The fact of the matter is, if this police department shut this town down to 11 o'clock with property authority from this board, that seems like a crime to me. And not only that, every DUI that was within close to the legal limit in this town needs to be thrown out. Thrown out. Because they have so many times illegally pulled people over for no reason. Jim Vandermeulen, Brad Colts, corruption twins. Now, Brad Colts was fired for corruption, but you know what? Nobody knows about it because it was hushed up. And the guy that's caused me so much aggravation, I did not get the pleasure of reading in the newspaper. Brad Colts, our detective, was fired, the second highest paid on the police force, was fired for corruption. Why? And I've got many more things, but that's enough for today. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and I do love this city.
Thanks, John.
Anyone else? Mr. Walker?
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much for giving me time tonight.
519 South Elizabeth, Roland Wolkers, 35-year resident, Marine City. I really love to hear three positive calls or three positive people come up to the podium and speak. As a retired police chief and going to many meetings, we have a lot of people come up and complain about things, and that's their right to come up here and speak, and I understand that. But this is a great city, and I'm full support of the people who spoke on our historical building. Marine City is well known for its historical buildings. Go up to Algonac and St. Clair and see what HUD did in the 60s and just laid waste to all their historical buildings. They're not going to get those buildings back. I think there's strong support in this town for Old City Hall. I'm a big supporter of it, so anything that we can do. I encourage, as I've written many grants, we should probably have a grant writer or somebody really proficient in grants, because this might be a lifetime opportunity. On a positive note, I want to give hats off and attaboys to our DPW. When we had the ice storm and trees were going down, I had a big tree go down in our neighborhood, and they were right there, Johnny, on the spot, and cut it down. The police department was there and blocked things off, and it was a job well done. We had a water main break this week. They put out the boil water alerts and let everybody know, and it was fixed very quickly. So as somebody who's been 40 years in public service, I'm very happy with the DPW and the police department, so we need to give some attaboys and take their hats off. I don't think anybody knows the secret why I'm here tonight, and the reason I want to speak on our marijuana dispensaries, or as I call them, pot shops and bake shops and cookie shops. And again, it's all about the kids. That's all I hear them to speak about. I want to speak about protecting our kids, the most vulnerable people in this community. And I want to talk about parent responsibility. And we talked about parent responsibility. One of the commissioners brought that up. Well, parents should be responsible for all the things that go on. If your kid does something wrong, well, it must be something wrong with how the parents are raising the kids, and that's the implication. We know, and I know, I raised 5 children, and we all know that there's kids, for all different reasons, fall through the cracks. A marijuana dispensary store that provides baked goods for our kids and gets into the schools, yeah, parents should keep their eyeballs on it. But as we know, when I grew up as a kid, and you guys grew up as a kid, I think there's some commissioners here who have grandchildren and maybe children, understand that we don't have a 24-hour watch on them. So by us taking a stand and saying to our community and the young people that we're not going to have this big shop and this marijuana shop in town, we're sending our message through our commission, through our community, that we don't want that in our town. We don't want our kids to be exposed to that. We don't want Bell Elementary and Holy Cross and Carla Mooney, Marine City High School, to be having kids that are eating marijuana brownies and cookies and not doing well in school and leading on to other things. I want to talk, as a police officer and a police chief, I've worked many accidents. I worked a case where a parent ran over his 2-year-old with a lawnmower and killed him backing up. I've worked cases where 2-year-olds are drowned in pools, all kinds of things. Things happen, and what we need to do is set up barriers and try to prevent those kinds of things. But pointing fingers at parents and saying, well, they're responsible for anything bad that happens to their kids is just ludicrous. Anybody who's raised children understands that. So I don't think that by pointing fingers at parents and say, well, if we have a bake shop and candy shop in town, it should be up to the parents to go ahead and police that when it's going to be in the community, in our schools. Fentanyl, talked about it. We got our people in Washington. They've been diddying around with our border for how long? And fentanyl's pouring over the border. They don't do anything. However, our local commission, you can do something. Sure, it's just a little bit. It's just a little bit of standing up and taking ownership and saying, hey, we don't want this in our town. You guys can do that. Or you can diddly around and play politics like people do in Washington, and nothing's ever happening. This is your opportunity. Actually, as I said last week, you don't have to do anything. All you just have to do is stand pat and stick up to what you said 2 years ago and have a ban on these pot shops. Gateway drug. It's science. People talk about science. It's a science. Marijuana is a gateway drug. The National Institute of Drug Abuse, Journal of Law, Medicine, Ethics, Stonewater Recovery, Beaches Recover, the CDC, Center on Addiction at Columbia University report, National Institute of Drug Abuse. I jotted those down in about 10 minutes off my phone. There's lists of them. So it's really important. Marijuana is a gateway drug, and thank you so much for your opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Catherine Warner, South Main Street, Marine City. I attend watch each city commission meeting. As a member of the viewing public, it is clear that this commission is now controlled by a 4-commissioner voting block. This voting block, as carefully assembled by Commissioner Hendrick, maintains a majority when it comes to decisions on Marine City issues. Madam Mayor, Commissioner Ross, and Commissioner Bryson, while I appreciate your wisdom and your dedication to all city-related issues, your voices are now second to the 4-person voting majority. At a prior meeting, the issue of the February 10th, 2023 arrest of Commissioner Hilfrink for the alleged domestic violence was raised. Because Commissioner Hilfrink is a member of the 4-commissioner voting block, it is clear to me that no action will be approved without respect to an investigation of the issues that were raised. There are 2 issues that cannot be ignored. One, why did the Commissioner Hilfrink dial our police chief's personal cell phone late in the evening on Saturday night during the arrest process? Number 2, what is the commission going to do about the public statement made by Commissioner Hilfrink that our police department engaged in an unlawful arrest? So these are the 2 issues that need to be resolved. I ask that the City Commission trigger an investigation rights under Section 6.8 of the City Charter. If necessary, there should be an independent review of the arrest to determine whether the arrest was unlawful, as stated by Commissioner Hilfrink to the public at a public meeting. Second, the issue of the phone call to the police chief should be investigated to determine whether the purpose of that call by Commissioner Hilfrink was to use his commissioner-elect status to try to extract a favor from our police department. I would appreciate answers to my concerns. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Cheryl Verkaman. At the last 2 meetings, I asked questions that we as taxpayers have a right to know. This board talks about transparency, yet everything is either hidden or ignored. No one is answering these questions. We are paying a ridiculous amount of money in duplicate salaries and wages because of the personal vendetta against ousted city manager Holly Tapman from a few people sitting on this commission. We as taxpayers have a right to know how much money is bleeding from the budget to pay these additional salaries.
I'm sorry, Ms. Verkaman, can I have you stop for a moment? Is that allowed from in the audience? I just want to make sure that we're clear.
It's free speech.
Right, that is.
Can you give us an opinion on that?
I know if we're talking about disruptions from the audience. I just want to make sure that
He's not disrupting anything, he's just holding a sign.
Okay.
As long as the signage and he is not disrupting the meeting, we can proceed.
There you go.
Okay,
I
very
have
good.
no,
I just
believe
want to
me,
make
I
sure.
have no issue with that.
Okay. I just want to be clear because people have questioned us.
That's good.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Where was I? We as taxpayers have a right to know how much is bleeding from the budget to pay these additional salaries. Who will answer this question? Another important subject that is being completely ignored is Mike Hilfrink's removal from office. Section 5.4 of the charter is the reason for removal from office clause. It references the state statute for the specific reasons which are relevant to Hilfrink's arrest. This is MCLA 168.327, willful neglect of duty. He violated every ethical standard an elected official stands for by committing a felony act of domestic violence. His actions also go against the ethics policy that is still in place for commissioners. Hilfrink also violated his oath of office. The ethics policy was approved by City Commission and stands in place whether you sign it or not. By breaking all these rules, Hilfrink is willfully neglecting his duty as commissioner and should be removed from City Commission. There are consequences for commissioners that break the rules that they expect others to abide by. If this issue is continuously ignored like it has been, it sends a very important message to our residents, and that is that Marine City Commission does not care. I would like the mayor not only to address this, but stand up for what is right and take action. How many promises were made for votes?
Thank you. Anyone else?
I would like to submit this to the record. There's enough for the audience as well.
I got it, sir. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. So that is an email from your former mayor that, by the way, proves that she tried to use her position to literally shut down a protest, a legal protest. And so I think that's pretty good information for you there. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. And I'm here after watching hours of your commission meetings and seeing your former mayor, as I like to say, Jabba the Hutt, get up to speak at public comment. She has utilized this time to attack the current mayor and many members of this commission. It is common knowledge that she is a lying sack of crap, but she has a right to lie. And to be, excuse me, that's, have you ever heard of free speech? Anyway, she has a right to lie and personally attack people from this podium, and I'll defend that right. That being said, people also have a right to set the record straight and to point out the blatant lies and hypocrisy, and that, my friends, is what I'm here to do. The former mayor has called for the resignation of a city commissioner due to a phone call to the police chief. She may have forgotten a few phone calls and an email that you have right there, where she demanded that they remove peaceful protesters from public property and urged them to violate their oath, as well as the First Amendment and Article 1, Section 5 of the state constitution. Thankfully, they did not listen. She then criticized the department and issued a veiled threat in that email to the police chief. The police were present during the protest and would have removed anyone if they weren't peaceful. She lied at a meeting and said that people were blocking her business. It was a flat-out lie. Word was that if the mayor had Lisa removed as a commissioner, the police chief was next on her chopping block, which is not surprising when you read this email. Now, she has used this podium to personally attack people, which is fine. We still have not forgotten her and Commissioner Bryson when they attempted to remove Lisa from office for literally no reason. Has anyone heard the phrase, play stupid games, win stupid prizes? I know your former mayor has, because she's got a couple first-place trophies in that arena. She used to work for Beaumont Hospital. One of her former coworkers made a post about how she was forcefully retired for stealing money. I've also heard people talk about how money went missing from the Chamber of Commerce when she was in charge, which is why they no longer hold a 50-50 raffle. Why doesn't she show transparency and release her personnel file from Beaumont? Did she steal money? Was she fired for this reason? Has there been a public audit for the chamber, and if so, did they find anything with regard to her stealing? These are questions that deserve answers. You see, Marine City is a small town. Everybody knows everybody. The former mayor probably doesn't even remember this conversation, but it was the first and only conversation I've ever had with her. But years ago, I went into the Little Bar after Shar and Greg sold it and asked her how they were doing, as I used to work for them and have deep respect for them. She proceeded to personally attack them and said they never came in there after they sold it. And by the way, that was the last time I stepped foot in there. The clam chowder was garbage compared to Shar's anyway. I walked away from that conversation realizing that she's a miserable, nasty, and unhappy person, and it's sad. The former mayor and her cronies had a hit piece drawn up at the tune of thousands of dollars sent out prior to the November election to attack Commissioner Hilfrink, and that backfired pretty hilariously. He came in first in a landslide. Wasn't even close. You see, there's a reason why she's sitting out there and not up there. And that's because she knows she couldn't get elected dog catcher at this point. People in this town are onto her and the bullshit that she peddles. And that's why she's trying to sell her business and run out of town. I don't blame her. My best advice to city commissioners or any elected official for that matter is to always be honest and to have your finger on the pulse of the electorate. It's vitally important. Pretty much ask yourself what your former mayor would do or how she would act and do the exact opposite. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Philip Polishak, Marine City resident. I haven't been attending a lot of meetings. I'm busy with a lot of other things, but I have been watching them on YouTube. And one thing that's been kind of getting to me is I have seen our former mayor come up here and talk about transparency with a particular commissioner, Commissioner Mike Hilfrink. I'm having a hard time, understanding that her cries for transparency are actually legit. Because I remember fighting and witnessing when former Mayor Verkaman was mayor, a mayor that wanted to institute, and our attorney shut it down, thankfully, to prevent legal trouble for the city, a $500 minimum fee on a FOIA. A mayor that sends an email to the police chief giving police chief orders to have somebody at a city commission meeting because they were afraid of the crowd. A mayor that hid a letter she received during the hiring of a city manager, hid that letter from the entire commission until it was brought out that that letter had been received by the mayor. Nobody knew about it till she got called down on it. So when it comes to transparency, I think Commissioner Hilfrink is doing an excellent job. He's asking questions, he's doing research. When the arrest happened, he addressed it right flat when it came up, right at the commissioner's privilege. I applaud any commissioner that attacks the issue right up front, that asks questions, that do their research, and they do their homework. But what I do not applaud is a former elected official crying for transparency when they themselves, in my opinion, were not that transparent themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Anybody else? Joe?
Got my check. Got my check.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, and people of Marine City, nobody seems to be mentioning the elephant in the room, so I'm going to do it. If you haven't already seen this, this was awarded today to the City of Marine City from T-Mobile Corporation. It's a $50,000 check to start the renovations of the Marine City tot lot on Main Street. Michelle Goodrich, our deputy clerk, is responsible for this award. And I think anybody that sees her around town ought to pat her on the back, put a gold star on her forehead, give her an attaboy. This is her work. Nobody else did this. This is her work. She doesn't have to do it. It's not part of her job description. But this is the kind of service we have gotten from her and we were getting from the other four that are no longer or will no longer be with us. And we need to think about what we're losing when we go about trying to make changes that don't need to be made. I also want to object to non-residents, Mr. Alan Richley in particular, coming to this podium and using the language that he used in front of this commission and the city of Marine City. These proceedings are broadcast. There are children that may be watching, and it's egregious. This should be allowed. Madam Mayor, you should have gavelled him at the beginning and kept him speaking in a respectful manner. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, moving on to item 7, approval of the minutes. I have a motion to approve the City Commission meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2023.
So moved.
Support.
A motion and support. Any discussion?
Yes. Jason, I apologize, I didn't get to send this to you earlier, but on the portion during city manager's report, there was a portion mentioned about a business owner that refused to pay their business, or had an issue with the business ordinance because the city had a vacant building. That wasn't mentioned, and then my commissioner privilege made no sense, which afterwards said, just so you know, 300 Broadway is utilized by several groups. So I just, if we could add that that was said specifically, that 300 Broadway is a vacant building that the city owns, and that a person had an issue with paying their business license fee as a result of that. It's not gonna make sense, my commissioner privilege makes no sense. That was cascaded specifically that I said 300 Broadway is indeed used. That's the only issue I have with it. Otherwise, great minutes.
I'm gonna make it a priority of mine to make sure everybody on the board gets our meeting minute policy, that if in fact you do need something changed, that it's submitted in writing prior to the meeting, so we're not surprising anybody with it. I respect that, Mr. Ross, I truly do, but the policy is there that, can you get it to us before the meeting so we're not kind of taken by surprise with that?
Sure, fully agreed, but the policy still allowed for changing it in the meeting, but I first apologized for not sending it. I get that, and I typically do. Again, I apologize. That was not to call out the minutes at all, just I needed to make, in order for it to make sense, that was required, so. But full respect to the policy.
So you're motioning to amend?
Yes.
Support.
All right. So any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And now, looks like, I see your agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes from March 2nd, 2023?
Make a motion, we approve the closed session meeting minutes?
Second.
Okay. A motion and support. Any discussion?
We don't think we can discuss closed session.
Yeah, nothing else. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And the marijuana town hall minutes from February 20th, 2023. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Okay, under the consent agenda, item 8, we have the Marine City Fire Authority Run Report.
Madam Mayor, on the marijuana town hall, we need to make sure that all the letters that we want entered into the record.
Oh, yeah, that's my fault. I will definitely get those to you.
Oh, I don't know if they were given or not, but just make sure they're all, because I want that record to be complete, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Are there still some out there? I didn't know if there were.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
All right.
You just mentioned
All right.
that. Yeah, I'll get those to you guys for sure tomorrow.
All right.
And that was all we needed to conclude that, is just those, the rest of those letters?
Yeah, just so the record's 100% complete.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 8, the consent agenda, the Marine City Area Fire Authority Run Report, the Departmental Activity Monthly Reports, the Community and Economic Development Meeting Minutes from December 7th, 2022, business license for Blackguard Reserve, business license for New Century Art Gallery, and the business license from BAB LLC. And can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion that we approve consent agenda items A through F.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Okay, have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yep.
Commissioner Hillfrank?
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Roerig?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Motion carried.
On to item 9A, financial business, expenditures including payroll, the amount of $527,930.19. Could I have a motion to approve the expenditures including payroll in the amount of $527,930.19?
So moved.
Support?
Motion and support, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillfrank?
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, on the preliminary financial statements, can I have a motion to receive and file the preliminary financial statements?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And we're on to item 10A, social district update discussion.
We are making progress. We have provided you in the packet, the interim city manager obtained the map and 2 communications from establishments that can help us move forward. The next step will be, as Commissioner, at least I think it was you at the last meeting, started to talk about valid rules that we can consider, and you had found some, I had found some.
Yep.
I think our next step as we move towards getting this to a resolution is you will get in your next packet and we will discuss at the next meeting. I'll just bring a list of all the rules that I can find that other communities have taken a look at. Not that those rules are being suggested, just so that you can go through them and be ready at the meeting to come up with the rules. There'll be rules relating to timing and different things that other communities that we've seen. I know Lisa pulled some up, found some from Novi or.
Ascota.
Well, even farther up north. And so we'll canvass other social districts and just see what kind of rules have been put in place, and then you can go through those at the next meeting, and then we'll be pretty much ready to bring this to a resolution.
I got some comments on the
map?
map, yeah.
Okay.
First, when I looked at, we need to remove the volleyball area that was left in. And I also think we should remove the memorial area where all our memorials are.
Just north of the
Water plant.
water plant, yeah.
Yes, I don't think that's but that whole area where the kids play volleyball and all that all should be removed. And the other thing I noticed is when they did a map here in Ascota, you had to include the businesses that were in it, and we don't.
You mean the sponsoring businesses?
Yeah.
Well, we
I
didn't.
mean, we don't have anything on the other side.
I think when we were doing the map, we didn't have the businesses yet.
Right.
But they will get in there.
I mean, because that's what they.
And the map is gonna have to be more defined. We are gonna get a more defined map.
So, and then this means tons of signs, I take it.
Well, the signage will depend on your finalization of the map, right? So you have to have ample signage where things begin and where things end. And then the signage will be driven also by the amount of rules that you want to put in place. So I don't know yet, Lisa.
Yeah.
If that's gonna be a lot of signs. I mean, you don't want to have a social district where everywhere you turn, there's a sign, don't go this way, go this way, don't go this way. You know, don't talk loud, make sure you're done drinking by 10.
Exactly, and I mean, we're gonna have the bike thing, you know, that could come in. That means more signs. I don't want the downtown being signed to death, and then we also
understand.
gotta add porta-johns.
So we will be
benches.
telling you just exactly what the state requirement is on the signage, and you can go from there.
Okay.
So if you eliminate the memorial area, the volleyball area, the lighthouse and that, so would you say, you have your sign, so you're walking down the sidewalk, you hit that spot.
Yeah, see, you want to avoid,
Like,
just
what
from
do you-
experience,
across
you
the
want to
street?
avoid stopping and starting.
Yeah.
Right.
I know it's
Because
gonna be
Seems like
hard
it needs
though with
to
the way
flow.
our,
it's the way you're laid out.
it's bad, yeah.
But you want to try to avoid the, you know,
I'm just concerned because I think basically the majority of these facilities all have outside seating for drinking. So I guess I'm not sure.
I guess one of the questions I would have is during COVID, how many times was this ever utilized then? And I'll bet you, from what I remember going down seeing, I know a lot of people ate in the parks, but I never saw people drinking in the parks, you know? In that respect, they could probably bring a pop or something, but all I'm saying is, this is a lot of space in here, especially in the summertime when we got all the kids out, and so now all our parks are gonna turn into, you know, and I'm just, the other thing is the enforcement part. Like, a lot of these communities had to put in, I think even Port Huron, they're putting in extra budget monies because of the enforcement, and I don't know how we're gonna do that. I mean, we're struggling with a budget now that's a mess, and now we gotta try to come up with more money. And I know Jim's struggling with his department to try to cover everything now, and we just keep adding more to it. I know some people like this, but I don't know if it's really gonna be utilized that much.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, Commissioner. This was just a solution
Yeah.
to the open intox ordinance that I think needs to be
Managed.
managed. That's a good word for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ugly, it was confusing. If you want to re-tackle that instead of this was just here,
Well,
let's look at this instead.
It was
type of a-
because of the other ordinance we had from COVID.
Right, yep.
Is what this was from.
One of the
So-
two of them, in my opinion, as the chief, should be looked at.
Yeah.
One of the two of them. We want to encourage people coming to town.
Yeah. Right.
And if they want to go to the local establishment and walk through the downtown into a park and watch a fair, we encourage that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we revisit the open intox ordinance, if we don't want this. This was just a solution.
Can we look at that too next time,
Yep.
just so that we can take a
If
look
you
at this
remember,
also?
if you remember, we had a moratorium on enforcement, essentially.
Yeah.
And I advised you that you can do that for periods of time. The law seems to kick around that shouldn't be doing moratoriums for longer than 6 months or a year. So you have an ordinance on the books and you suspend enforcement with a moratorium. We have a moratorium on enforcement. But you can't do that forever.
Yes.
And so we came back here and said, well, we could play with the ordinance through a social district as a solution, or we could just go back and visit that ordinance. And I think you, as a commission, voted to, let's take a look at what a social district would look like.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with taking a look. I'm just. I
Yeah,
have
you're exploring
concerns.
both.
Yeah.
But Jim and I could bring back also what a revised ordinance would look like.
Correct. So I guess I'd like to look at everything before we,
Okay,
do this.
fair enough.
I think it's too large, and these are our public parks for our kids, and we're walking our dogs and everything. Do we really need it? Like you said, almost all of them have outdoor spaces to sit and drink. And it's all along our waterfront, which to me is problematic, especially with out-of-towners
Yeah.
drinking in a river. So I have an issue with that too. And all the things that are gonna happen. You're gonna get more complaints, the office is gonna get more complaints, the DPW has more work to do, and people are spilling things, and it's just a lot more work and a lot more hassle. And then you have to worry about, do people leave the cups around where kids can drink them? Because you know they will. So I think we need to really look at this and see what we want to do.
Can we, is there a way to set like an hours on the social district?
Yep, you can do that too, yeah.
Okay, because I hear like a lot of, we don't, the kids want to use the parks, families want to use the parks, so if we set an hour, a later hour on it, that would take care of a lot of those concerns.
Yeah, 11 a.m. is too early.
Yeah, I didn't even see a time in here, but,
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
yeah.
Some communities have, more expanded hours than others, and some expand them during the different days.
Right.
So you could, but again, the more, you gotta be careful on how many rules you put into this, because it becomes an enforcement issue.
Right.
Oh, if I walk that far, I gotta stop. I gotta
Yeah.
turn left, and then I can drink again when I get over here.
Across the street.
Oh, by the way, it's 10:30, I gotta stop drinking altogether.
Right.
So you wanna be careful on the rules.
Yeah.
But let's take a look, you guys are doing a good exploration of this. We're showing you what a social district can do and what it looks like. We'll show you what the ordinance can do and what that would look like.
Is there any way we can get like something drawn up for like a cost, just a general cost to the city with signs, picnic
So
tables.
we'll go to Mike and ask, I think he was here when we talked about it once, said signs, there's a company we use, so
Yeah.
we'll get a cost on the signs, and then I think some of you mentioned, you might want to have more places to sit down, right?
Well, they talked in here about having more places to sit, picnic tables.
More garbage cans.
More porta
Yes,
johns.
yep.
Which we could use anyway.
Yes. So all those things would have to be considered, and they're all additional costs, plus Jim's cost of,
We'll take a look at it.
because I know his guys sit down there now with, we got the people that do the UEs and all the driving down the one ways the wrong way. I mean, we got a mess down there now, so. And those people, well, I don't know, maybe they've been drinking, so I don't know.
And they'll be crossing the street with
Yeah.
liquor.
So we'll come back next meeting then with
Yep, and
2
we'll
versions.
also,
social-
we'll also take a look at your ordinance and see, well, what would it look like if we modified the ordinance to accommodate the police concerns about the
Okay.
open intox.
But keep in mind that ordinance, I think, again, map-wise, was pretty much the same.
It is very close.
Except I think it actually included, just not the beach, but did include Mariner Park, maybe?
Yep.
So,
We'll take a look.
anyway, but yeah, I mean, I was all for it because chiefly, Jim, you had said, I want something enforceable. I've talked to other chiefs in other cities.
Right.
The social district seems to be that entity. And, yeah, I want something that works for you, works for our businesses, works for the people.
Agreed.
Good.
I just want to say, I saw the letter from the fish company, which I absolutely appreciate seeing. They've been here 14 years. I credit them with a lot of the turnaround in this town, so I absolutely respect what they're saying in that letter, and I heard that, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good supporting letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's what I want to. End of the day, I want something that works for our visitors, our residents, our businesses,
Our police.
everything, our police,
Well, I think,
DPW.
I think if.
Extra work they would
as-
have to.
As you've looked at the policy, I think you're all consistent on what you want to accomplish. Now we're trying to fine tune the mechanism to get you there. I think you're all in the same spirit of wanting people to have a little freedom to roam around, but we got to figure out the best mechanism to get you there.
Yeah, because you don't want to junk everything up with too many signs and
Right.
stuff and all the extra stuff, and then make it harder, like I said, for Jim to have to deal with it on top of it.
Right, okay.
So.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on, since no action is taken.
No action needed, yeah.
So item 10B, the 303 South Water Property Fund allocation. That had been put on the agenda, and Jim can correct me if I miss anything here. Mainly because it's a reminder that we had put this off into the April meeting when we had, I think it was back in December. We had decided to wait until April. The time's coming up. We got to decide what to do with the sale money. We included in the different options that had been suggested through Curtis's breakdown and Attorney Davis's. Get 3 options of where we could put the money between general fund, the Guy Center, community center fund, or if we just want to put it all towards the new community center. So that is coming up for next month.
Yeah, we put this off to the budget meeting.
Correct.
Yep, for April, yep.
This is just a reminder.
It's a reminder, it's
So it's
coming
a
up.
reminder, yes.
This was more of a segue into your next topic. This was a reminder that monies are there to look over, to discuss, but segue into then the next
Yes.
item on the agenda.
Yep. All right, so no action taken on that. And then now we're at 11A, new business, the MEDC CDBG Public Spaces Grant. Yep. Presentation by Laura Merchant.
You, in your packet, you received a letter from me kind of going over communication that I've had with our Broadway committee, with the Historic Society, and with some other members in the community. We have this wonderful opportunity. It's a grant. It's a chance of a lifetime. I've talked to Michelle Goodrich about this grant opportunity. We've never seen one come through. that's worth this much money. And I don't think we're ever going to see one again. That is basically what we were told from the MEDC. We sat through a presentation. Brian was also part of the presentation from the MEDC, and they actually said this would probably be it. So this is kind of like that last chance opportunity. We've had organizations working on this building. We've hoped and we've dreamed and we've fundraised, and $2 million is a lot of money. And $30,000 at a time takes a lot of years. This is an opportunity that we can get this building to be used by the public and create a public space with no limits. I mean, we could do a lot of great things with it. We have a wonderful committee, our 300 Broadway committee. We have a great relationship with the Historic Society. We have Friends of City Hall on that committee. We have representatives of the community. So we have a lot of people there that are willing and able to help with this, because we know the office staff right now, we're limited in time and resources. But I've talked to Michelle, and she believes that we can try really hard to get this done. And we will be there to help her. Heather and I have spoken. Cheryl Zimmer also have spoken. There's a group of us that we are ready. My husband supports me on going for this because we know how important this building is to our community. We also know that this building has been a point of contention. I've heard a lot of stories over the years. I want to look forward. I don't want to look back. I want to keep going forward. This is an opportunity for us to make something into this building that can be available for everybody. So I am looking for your support. I'm here to answer questions. I'm hoping Brian can help me on this. Heather, I thought Michelle was going to be here tonight, but she probably was exhausted from today. So I will try to answer any questions that you have, but I just want you to know that there are a group of us that are ready to dive into this and try as hard as we can to meet the deadline on April 28th.
I had talked to Brian last night. He said possibly some of the things on this application process list are done. There's 19 items, well, I guess 16 items and some optional items.
Right. So, okay, go ahead.
Which ones are done?
A lot of it. So we have a lot, over the years, we've come up with plans.
Specifically,
I can't give you exact specifics because there's a lot of writing that needs to be done. So we have a lot of information. We have a business plan. So what we do is we take all of our information. As we're doing these questions, we pull the information in. So we will be creating abstracts as we're going through the application process.
Okay.
I've done grants as well, so I'm familiar, not to the degree that, Michelle has done. But, I was involved in the Marina project. I was involved in grants for the beach fundraiser. I was involved in grants for River Rec Teen Zone, and then matching grants with the community foundation as well as with the county. So
okay.
It's a think tank. You kind of take all this and you funnel it in and you make it work and answer the questions that need to be answered.
So just looking at this list, just a couple of things just in planning in general, site plan, project maintenance plan, just for the public. Authorizing resolution, I guess it's not a plan, but anti-displacement and relocation plan, marketing promotions plan, and a citizens participation plan as well. Do you know if does anybody know if a citizen participation plan has been done for the city?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know you don't. I'm just asking this whole board, does anybody know if if citizen participation plan has been done? Because according to this, in order to submit the application, we need to have and adopted a citizens participation plan.
Right, so you set up how the citizens can participate, how they can come. It doesn't need to be before April 28th. It just needs to be a participation plan as to how the citizens can contribute and add to what your overall project will be.
Right. Yep.
Right.
It will all need to be designed and adopted along with all the rest of this stuff. Also,
So there is a timeline.
I know. That's why I'm commenting on this stuff. So it also says that the public hearing, which we have to have scheduled, essentially, it has to be scheduled for 5 days before it has the public hearing. So this gives us 9 days to amount of funds available for proposed community development, range of activities that may be undertaken, including the estimated amount proposed to be used for activities that will benefit LMI persons. Those are people with disabilities. The plans of the applicant for the minimizing displacement of persons as a result of these activities assisted with such funds, and the benefits to be provided by persons actually displaced as a result of such activities. And this all has to be done and included in the public hearing before that's even done. And it's, this does look like an awesome, awesome grant. Like, it's amazing. $2 million, like, that's no joke. And I did watch the webinar and how it talks about, you know, getting extra points for it being in a downtown area. And also
ADA compliant,
right,
and green.
Right, yep. So yeah, we could tick a lot of those boxes. It's just unfortunate that we didn't hear about this in January when it was announced. Then we could maybe do this. And personally, for me, I just don't see us getting everything done, especially with the $200K match. You know, I mean, like we just discussed, we haven't even decided what to do with that money. That's what we're discussing in April.
Okay, so you say that you have to, so we have a group, a committee, volunteers, along with Michelle, that will work on this. Nobody really helped her other than Holly doing the other grants, and she got this grant. So we can do this. I mean, and if we don't, we didn't lose anything. But we're gonna try our darndest to hit that April 28th mark, and we're gonna check off everything on those boxes, because that's what you do. When you do a grant, you have to sit there and make sure that every single thing is, you hit on those items, and that's what we will do, and that's what she does. So a lot of the things that are also required for this grant, Michelle already has, because she had to do that for the other grants that she's done. So there is a lot of information that is repetitive. So we just have to change some of the terminology, we just have to change, but a lot of it is done already and can be used for this grant as well.
In terms of announcing it, I was made aware of it as soon as it dropped from Michelle, and then the question was whether or not we would be eligible. So I didn't want to announce a grant that we wouldn't even be eligible for if we didn't ensure that it was.
Oh, of course.
So I didn't say anything in my commissioner privilege until I knew that it was a potential. I've said it for the past several meetings, and I am super excited about it. So that, and I would be happy to help as much as anybody else needs. I know that this group is very excited about it as well. There's a slew of people in the audience who would be happy to help. Again, with all those groups being involved, they've created business plans, et cetera, that all could be gleaned from, and that's where I meant that a lot of these things were not necessarily fully complete, like box checked, ready to go, but the info is there. It's data gathering. It's not, you know, clean sheet, let's start this from scratch. And further, what we did as a community is took the building back over, and that's step one. It needs to be in the hands, it needs to be a municipally owned building and property, and it is. And, you know, from there, I think we have a lot to build on and a lot to check off, like LMI, which is low and moderate income.
Oh, my fault. A lot of acronyms.
There are.
Yeah.
And there is, you know, just the fact that we have the Historic Society that is willing to not only donate a portion of monies, which I'm not going to really say, or I might have written that on here, but looking for matching funding. And from there, we can look for a match again through the county. So if the community foundation comes in and says, yes, we'll match this, we can then go to the county and ask for another match. So that kind of brings down the amount of money. So there's a lot of things that need to get done quick, but we're ready. I mean, we are ready to go. You know, we have a couple of retired people that are willing to dedicate a lot of time to get this down the road.
If there's so much ready and available, why don't we have any of it?
Well, a
You're
lot of
asking
people,
us to make a decision on what you're saying is there, but I don't see anything here except the application and information.
because
about
right
the
now,
application.
what I am asking of the commission, and that's what we are asking for, is to do the public hearing, and then that allows us to start formulating, bringing things in that we need. So there are things that 300 Broadway Committee has, there's things that Friends of City Hall has, there's things that the historic.
Excuse me, but that's not answering my question. Where is the information? Where is your preliminary plans? Where are your renderings? Where is any of this stuff so we can see some of it?
So that's really-
before we make a decision. You're asking us to commit to this, and that money has to be committed at the time of the grant.
So
We
just-
can't just wait for it.
So this kind of happened at one of the other grants, the same type of thing. You don't want to do all the work and then come up here.
You're saying you have a lot of it done.
But it belongs to other people. It belongs to the Historic Society. It belongs to.
They're not willing to share so we can make a decision.
Right, but if I were to give you all of this information, you'd look at it, you'd go, what is this? So it talks about, it talks about creating a warming center or a meeting space or technology center or a public gathering space. Everybody has their ideas. Now we come together and we bring this into, sorry.
So you're going to have this ready for the public hearing? How can people make a decision if they don't know what we're doing?
We'll have it ready for the public hearing. That'll be in 2 weeks.
No, it's 9 days. You have we have to submit it. We have to have it posted for 5 days.
Okay,
So you guys
9
have
days.
9
Sure,
days.
we'll get it.
Information has to be available before the.
It's worth a try. We're going to try our darndest, okay? We have 9 days. I'm saying, we have people that want this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It doesn't cost the city anything to just move forward.
And it costs us $200,000.
Not if we don't, I mean,
What? No, we have to have it in the bank when you.
You do.
on the 28th.
Yeah.
On the 20th of April.
Gotta be committed.
We have to be committed.
So to do the work right now, excuse me, you're looking for our support to do the work.
I'm looking for
The
your support
work-
for a public hearing.
Yeah.
For us to begin the work.
Yes. And then for the team to do all this work that's gonna go in. And then we're gonna have our public hearing date, we're gonna have the regular meeting. And then we still got to the April 28th.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
So, yeah, and you've got a
But not
team ready to
impossible.
go. And so April 28th comes, we'll have our information. April 28th, then we can decide, are we committing the money to this?
No, we'd have to make it before that. It has to be in on the 20th.
Yeah, the
has to be
April
on the
28th at
28th.
5 o'clock, the grant
the
has to be in. So the commission would have to decide how much money they want to go for. So it's $750,000 to $2 million.
So then on our April 20th meeting, we'll look at what's ready to go within the week.
No, because
That's
to
just
do the
not-
public hearing, the amount of funds available for proposed community development needs to be established.
Yep.
I'm
So-
sorry, it just doesn't look like there's enough time.
Can
guys.
we tie that
on? I would vote for this if we don't have to submit any money, but
But you don't have to submit any money.
we have to know the amount
You
of funds
have to know
available.
the amount that you would be willing for the 10%.
Please, one person at a time.
So for the 10% grant, for the match, you would have to say, yes, we would allocate X amount of dollars. And it would have to be in the bank
So you have to
on
segregate
April 28th.
200,000 to
Yes.
get 2 million. Right?
Absolutely.
But that money has to sit in there until June or July or wherever. So if something else came along, we cannot use it.
You've already segregated the money.
Exactly. So if you looked at the money, the funds, and that's kind of why, talking about this, the 303 funds, could they be potentially used for this? And then with some matching funding, that would actually bring that amount down.
Are you going to know this by the 28th?
You would have to make a decision as to how much you would be willing. Let's say you say 150,000, then that tells us we can only go for 1.5 million.
Okay, Commissioner Hendrick?
All right, I have a lot of questions. All right, first off, I want to address just your letter first. you have a thing in here that you've spoken to the Friends of City Hall and that, and the Historic Society in Riverhead Teen Zone, and you have $30,000. So you've got money committed from Friends of City Hall?
I did speak to Friends of City Hall. I talked to Andrew. So there is some money that could go towards.
Did they vote to
this.
commit the money to you?
No, this was prior because he had gone on vacation.
Okay,
So
so somebody contacted me from that group and wanted me to know that they did not agree to this.
Right.
So
I understand that, but when I had spoken to Andrew, the letter had already gone out, so I could get it into the package, and their meeting was canceled, but it was a small amount of money.
So if you remove their amount of money, how much do you have left?
$1,000 comes out.
So you got 29,000 then, without their money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing here is it says, you know, and I've been through all the stuff with this building too. I know everybody's feelings. It says the opportunity is win-win for the community and will finally give us the financial means to complete the renovations. Are you, some of those people have been told that this completes the entire interior. Does it or doesn't it?
$2 million will complete a lot of the interior.
It's not going to complete the entire interior.
It'll complete the interior so that it can be functioning as a public space.
The problem with that, I believe, is 15 years ago, we said they needed $2 to $3 million to do it, and we're here 15 years later, 16, whatever, and the costs have gone up exponentially. So I don't buy that you're going to be able to do all that. But here's the other thing. So I read through everything. I watched the webinar. I read all the questions. The questions don't allow you to do it with these meeting rooms or whatever. So what technically are you going to use this building for as a community space?
So it's a public space, so it's open.
What does that mean?
Well, that is something that we can get with the public and see what they want to. We had people at our work group, I don't know if you remember, but a lot of people expressed wanting to go and play cards. Other people wanted a place to use the internet. Other people wanted to just hang out. So it would be something that we would determine that and move forward with that. So there's.
But if you read this project already had to have been pretty much completed and set up now. They don't want you to start now with a new project.
No, we do have a business plan in place that talks about creating a public gathering space, a technology center, a meeting space, a warming center, the opera house that could be used for weddings or other types of venues. So there is all of that incubator space. So all of that is within a business plan. So
Did you read this grant though? This grant is for the low-income people to have a space free of charge to use.
Right.
Which means you can't charge.
No, I know that, but I'm just telling you, you had asked and I said that there was a business plan that was made out. So that's why if I were to give you a business plan that said, we're gonna have a wedding venue, well then, if that's not in the guidelines of the grant, then it can't be. But if we have a technology center where you have a space available so that people who are working at home want to go and use internet or who don't have internet, or create a warming center there, then you don't have to go out to, the place on King Road. So these are just.
All right. So reading this, it says that this CDBG application process takes 6 to 9 months from a submission of completion application materials to the state. 6 to 9 months to do this, and you're saying you're going to do it in a couple weeks. Here's the other thing. All the materials are required to go in. So when you look at this information, it says here that this will allow, what they're looking for is parks, town squares, playgrounds, amphitheaters, farmers markets. They're looking for outside. This is for low and moderate income for the communities. They're looking for space where people can gather. Most of these things they talked about were outside. They talk about utility infrastructure, playground equipment, public restrooms so that they have access, drinking fountain, sidewalks, outdoor speaker systems, exterior heating systems, lighting, benches, enable spaces to comply with American disabilities, which that building, I know you're going to put a
absolutely
lift in, but the exterior to get into it is going to be another issue. So most of this is for,
Which we do have architectural plans that address every single point that you bring up, so.
but are those the old plans that were
No.
done a long time ago?
No, these were done within the last 2 years.
But here's the other problem. So the commission has never seen those plans or approved those plans. They have to come here first. Anything done with that building, whether you tear it apart, which that hasn't been done, whether you restore anything, whether you have plans, those plans have to be approved by us before you can even do them. So all that has to be brought here first before we can even have a public hearing to say that we're even interested in doing that. All the materials for the application have to be done, and it's a long application. I mean, it's a big one. But you have to have the application finished, before photos of the proposed site plans, project location maps, project renderings, detailed project budget. That's gonna be a big one right there. Third-party cost estimates, project maintenance plan, which means we gotta know how much it's gonna cost us to keep maintaining it, and I understand the roof is in bad shape again, leaking in more spots. Marketing promotions plan, authorizing resolutions, public participation form, public hearing, the public hearing meeting, certification of a applicant form, statements of assurances form, anti-displacement and relocation plan. They say the optional ones are some of the things with American with Disabilities, but I gotta believe that we have to look at that. That's how we got in trouble with that building currently. And the building, the portion that you were in is fine because that was brought up to the codes. The rest of that building is not ADA compliant and nowhere near ADA compliant. And because of all the problems with there, this came up before because we had a complaint filed against us. You cannot be using that building even for meetings or tours or anything at this point. So I understand how you want to do this for the other stuff, but they're looking for a gathering space. So let me ask you this. If you restored this entire building, how are you going to keep it open all the time so people can use it all the time?
That's something that we have to meet. That's something that we have to discuss. These are things that our committee, along with the commission, can discuss.
But if you would read, if you read this whole grant thing, all this had to have been put together a long time ago. This isn't something they want you to start now on. They wanted you to have a plan already in place that you're working on.
So
it needed to be a part of your master plan, which it is.
Yes.
It needed to be, they specifically, because this was specifically asked, they said, so this is pretty much just for shovel-ready projects. And they said, no, absolutely not. It had better not be something that you're, just making up on the fly. It needs to be a part of your master plan, a building that you have. Don't go out and procure something all of a sudden so that you could try and get this money. We have it in our master plan. It's a park. It's surrounded by land. And it needs compliance and ADA compliance and more accessibility. And that's what this plan's on doing.
But it's the park portion, not the interior of the building. They're looking for more of the interior. I mean, here's all the questions, read through them. It said in here about doing, you can even do parking lot.
This allows for seasonality, and that's another thing so this building is something
Okay.
that can provide the bathrooms year-round. That is something, because we don't have bathrooms.
How are we going to do that? That's an additional cost for us.
We are going to, these are things that we are going to discuss. I am here today representing the 300 Broadway Committee, asking for your permission to move forward and try to get this grant for hopefully $2 million.
And you're supposed to be working with one of their people.
Yes.
They're the ones that have to do it. Now, the other thing is.
Yes, and that's something with, that's.
Not Michelle. There's
Exactly,
people
but Michelle knows that, so Michelle is in communication.
Okay, so who's going to be responsible when they want to do the background check on everybody? And those have to be submitted within 24 hours of you getting anything. So who's going to be the person that they're going to do all the background checks on?
We will assign somebody.
But see what I'm saying? I mean, I know I understand that you want this so bad, okay? And I understand everybody does. But the problem is the amount of work that you're going to have to do. They don't want you starting, and I know you're saying you have information, but not for this particular project.
We actually do. We have worked on this. We have groups that have been working on this for how many years, Ray?
But not for a.
20 years?
Not for a meeting space. And here's the other thing. I'm sorry, I cannot utilize Guy Center money for this. If we have to come up and try to find something else, the people of this town want their Guy Center. This has been designated at the building. Well, it has. I didn't, you know, I'm
So
not.
don't we want to take those signs out from out front and put them to a place where the guys would respect and
But
appreciate
you gotta,
it?
well, you don't even let people use this one.
Agreed.
And we're in violation.
Believe me, I think it's
The
total
$2 million
BS that we have
isn't
that
gonna
out there.
get you to where you're gonna be able to utilize that much, I'm telling you. You got a lot of work in the interior of that building.
Sure.
But we
I think $2 million will definitely get you to a usable state. It will not get you to what,
But you're not telling me how you're using, you're giving me the upstairs, we all know what the ballroom was gonna be used for, but that's not the type of thing they're looking for in this particular grant, not that ballroom. Because you're charging people. They want the low-income people to be able to have a space, have a park area that they can come and they can, put like a farmer's market. I mean,
It'd
if
be
you
a great
read this.
location for farmers markets. That's what I mean. The
On the
size of-
outside,
But you need to bathrooms, you need access. What if you want to have an art show, you know, the art show?
but what I'm getting at is you're saying you're gonna use the outside for farmer's market, then why are we using the money for the inside? Then the money's supposed to be used for the outside.
But you can also use the inside for the same things. You can have vendors, you can have art shows.
But you're
you can
making
have-
this up on the fly without.
No, I'm not. We have a whole,
Then you needed to bring it.
Yeah, you should have.
But our work, I'm going to tell you something. We had a work group that worked for a long time. We met with people, the work group met with the public, people presented ideas. The building came back to the city. This is an opportunity for the city to try to get up to $2 million. I am here today to ask permission to go forward and try to get that money.
And I don't think that there's any issues for us to say, try. Because right now, what you're hearing is, it's going to fail, you can't, you won't, it's going to fail. We have no skin in the game on this until we can say, please go ahead and try. But it's when we say, okay, now submit that application, that's when we're committing the city funds.
Right.
Up until then.
You're not paying them, you're just reserving them.
Yeah, reserving.
You're reserving.
Reserving them in case it is approved. But right now, what we're here today is to look for, giving you guys our approval.
And a public hearing.
And a public hearing to please try for this. Try for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because we already got part of the building that's ready, could be used. Unfortunately, it's the River Actine Zone section that's closing. But that section could actually be used towards community center activities right now.
Absolutely.
So in the meantime, we can try to get this stuff together, the team that's willing to do it. And up until that last meeting, that last time that we have to say submit it, we are only setting aside or reserving to do that. So
Absolutely.
we don't actually have, other than approval for you to continue with it, actually committing city funds to this.
Right.
So here's the problem though with all, I mean, this is all nice. It's all nice and fun and good. And yes, people want to finish the building. I understand that. But if the roof is still an issue, there's the next problem. You're going to do this whole interior and now you got a problem with the roof. The city is in such a mess with our books right now. We can barely put a budget together and know where the heck we are with our budget.
I know it's terrible
It's a mess.
timing, but it's an opportunity of a
Well,
lifetime.
I understand that, but $200,000 is a lot of money for the city.
Budget is done and it's looking pretty good.
The books are still a mess, Bob, you know.
I understand, I'm just commenting on the budget.
It's an opportunity of a
I just was-
lifetime.
Jim's been working hard on it, I just wanted to say.
I know Jim's been working hard on it, and I appreciate that. He's doing a great job. But we still have a long way to go. We're still gonna have to hire more people to fix things.
I'm going to say one more thing. I have heard over the years, tried not to hear too much, but this building was neglected by the city, okay? Whether you want to hear that or not, but that's what a lot of people believe. It is now time, let's take responsibility. let's get this going, let's try to get the money, and let's do something with this building and make it this historic, amazing landmark in Marine City. And so all I'm asking from you is to please schedule the public hearing and allow us to move forward with the grant.
But you're gonna have to have a lot of detail before that public hearing. And if there's no detail for the public hearing, I could not support moving forward without the detail.
Okay.
And the other thing is again, I don't feel that it's a good idea for us to be using the Guy Center money for this fund. It's gonna cause a lot of contention in this town. It already has with the sale of it. And you're gonna have to try to come up with a different way within the budget to come up with the money, because I think it's a real bad move. And it's not gonna go well in town with it, with the way people feel about that building.
I just have one more question. So you're talking doing stuff outside and inside. Who pays for the project rendering? I mean, that's going to be pretty significant if you're talking about outside and inside.
So right now, we do have architectural drawings, but put into this grant can be new renderings. So that can be part of the cost in the grant.
So who pays for it?
The grant does.
Grant does.
I don't know if it pays for all of it. Some of
That
it
has to be
it
part of the
doesn't pay
application.
for.
No, not full architectural renderings don't have to.
I'm just reading what it says, project rendering.
So we
That's all I'm
do,
reading.
so we
I don't know.
have architectural drawings of the building, but.
Right. That's not the project.
We may not go, well, they will be submitted with the grant, but they're going to be modified according to what we're going to do. Like, for instance, on these, on the renderings that we have, on the architectural drawings that we have, the elevator goes from the basement all the way up to the top, okay, to the mezzanine. We may not do that. We may not use the basement, because if it goes down to the basement, that's an extra $50,000 or $60,000. So do we need that? So these are things that we're going to be determining. So we are all going to be meeting together as our group, as we have been, and figuring out, that's where we're going to go and, figure out where's the best way to spend the money to get the most bang for the buck, to get this building accessible and usable.
So when you get that done, though, you still have to bring it back to the commission for full approval. It's the way it works. I'm sorry. We've had the discussion with prior attorneys, and when that building gets worked on, because it belongs to the city,
right?
The committee only has the authority to recommend, and so it has to come here first for full approval before we can even move forward.
So the construction completion has to be done by December of 2025. So from the point of April, when we submit the app and we start gathering information, everything would come to the commission.
We need it before you submit the application. How can I know what to go with if you're not going to tell me what's in the building beforehand, and then you submit a grant, and then I'm going to find out later what the use is? See what I'm saying?
Things always, okay, all right.
But the grant application requires you to have all this stuff up front.
Absolutely, but what I'm saying is, if we have to submit our renderings that we have from our architect, and we say, we are not going to go ahead with the elevator that goes down to the basement, all right, you might approve those plans, but if it's going to save us $50,000 or $100,000, and we decide not to do that, these are things then I guess will come to the commission and you'll approve. But with the initial application, we are going to have all the information we need to submit the grant application.
Which means you have to have the plans, which means we have to approve those before you do the application.
If you can you approve that on the 20th?
If you get them all ready. I mean, we have to have enough information to move forward. I can't move forward without seeing what we're putting in there. If people come to ask me, well, what are they putting in there? I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of things talked about, and that's fine, but we have to go by what they're recommending that the grant wants.
Okay.
And the grant doesn't say.
You will have it by the 20th.
It says in here you can't
You
do.
have to have it before the 20th. You have to have time to look at it.
Well, you'll have information for the public hearing, and then you'll have it when we have it available. I'll talk to Michelle, and we'll find out, we'll create a timeline.
And I believe she's going on vacation too, so that's gonna be an issue for you. But I don't also want our whole staff I mean, we're shorthanded now, and
I
we need-
understand that, and that's why we have people that are volunteering to help with this
But I
in
think
hopes that we get a grant approved.
if you work with their person, which is a requirement of this,
Absolutely.
that person is supposed to help guide you through this, not
And they will.
our person.
Yes, but Michelle also has written grants and
I
been awarded.
understand that, but most of those are supposed to be done in off hours. The thing with this is, you have to work with their person, and again, you're gonna have to pick a person who's going to have to be investigated and everything else on all the information. So all I'm saying is, I don't have a problem with these things, but the problem I have with them when they come is we don't get anything. And I can't make a decision after reading, and I read through all this multiple times. I've gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. I've watched everything. I pulled the recent questions out, and I just don't see that some of this stuff even fits this grant based on what they have here. But, again, if you want a decision, you have to provide enough information to make it so that I can make a decision. $200,000 is a lot out of our budget right now, with all the other additional things. We got roads that people are complaining to us, they want their roads fixed before they want that fixed. So you have all these things that we have to take into consideration first, but without having anything proper about what's going in this building to even know if it fits. And the exterior, the only thing with the exterior in the park on this, you know, that whole section has been designated as a historic district. So even the gazebo should have been looked at, but I love the gazebo. But there's rules to follow even on the exterior that you're gonna have to fit with the historic district, not just, you see what I'm saying? There's even more rules on top of that require, because that's the only block we have that was designated as a historic district. But
So-
it sounds like, according to what I hear John saying, there's a lot more issues with windows, and somebody else told me that the roof's leaking in multiple areas. and-
So this is something that, as we start doing our research, like you said, I have to contact this person, and we have to follow this person, follow along with this person. If this person tells me it'll be impossible for you to get this in by April 28th, I will come to the commission and tell you that. So if it's an impossibility, but I'm saying we are willing to try, give us the chance to try. It's worth it. It's worth it.
And I'm sorry, but Ms. Buckram had something.
Yep.
Well, all I wanted to say, Lisa, was I understand all your reservations and questions, but what we're trying to do is have the permission to have the public meeting and to apply for the grant. You can find, whatever is wrong after that, if it doesn't come to your expectations. But at this point, it's just to do that much.
I understand that, Heather, and I appreciate that. But the issue is that
I understand all the issues.
we also have to make sure that the public, we have a whole community, and now they don't always come here, but they do watch this. That whole community wants to know also what this project is so that they can have input.
They will when we
Yeah,
with you next, okay?
yeah. But again, there's requirements, I think, what did you say, Mike? They have to have it within 9 days?
Yeah, the public hearing notice has to be up for 5 days, so they have to have everything, every requirement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You
We
guys,
are going to create a public gathering space. What that exactly looks like, we will have that to you as soon as we can.
So we make a motion tonight to do the public hearing at our next meeting. It can get posted Monday. That's plenty of time to give the public notice. Right, so we're talking week and a half.
they can't put it into their public notice how much money we have, because we don't know. We
But it's
haven't-
just a public hearing.
Right, but it has to, Lisa, do you have I was trying to look at the list where it said all the requirements for the public hearing, because I'm not sure.
Oh, I
Could the
don't know.
public hearing just say
It's a performance hearing, but maybe
$750,000 to
what
$2
you're
million?
Yeah.
No, it's right, I just was reading it off the list.
No, she's saying what the motion.
All 4 of those things have to be in the public hearing. This is the first sheet, if you want to see what leads into it.
Okay, well, let's talk about the funds. So we have potentially the funds from the sale of 303 South Water. We have potentially $400,000 available in ARPA funds that haven't been assigned yet, that have to be designated in 2023 for spending in 2024. We do have a healthy fund balance according to our auditor.
Right.
There
That's the
were
point.
accounting
The books might not
issues.
look great, but we have a very healthy fund balance.
I don't think that we can use ARPA funds.
You
I don't know if
you
you-
cannot use our.
You cannot use
Okay,
ARPA funds.
so then we'll go back to the South Water Streets, potentially have that money available, should it be approved. And then we had also approved back in February, the approval for the grant for replacing all the water lines, which would also take care of all the streets throughout the entire city.
But we don't know if we're gonna get that.
No, but that's already being looked at as a possibility as well, so,
But if we don't get that, then we're back to trying to do the streets again. And again, it's a
then-
lot of money and it's a lot of things, and I hear people all the time complain.
Will we know by April 28th?
I doubt it.
probably not.
I don't think so.
I'm just saying, we've got different avenues that we can look at for this. This seems to be, if we allow them to try for this, for that building, just to try, and we approve, we see what they present, what they can get done and accomplished. And if we see that they can meet these markers and these, what we have, then we can then either approve that it go forward with the funds aside, showing everybody in the public what we see, that they have got this done, what this means, what we can do, or we don't. And then we stay where we're at, and then we keep everything as is,
But
or
I'd
decide otherwise.
request that we look for other funds besides the Guy Center funds.
So I personally think this is a great idea. I think there's no harm in trying. I think there's no harm in writing the grant and holding a public hearing. It doesn't hurt anything.
No.
So I think we should go forward. In fact, I'll make the motion that we hold a public hearing on April 6th to discuss the Public Gathering Spaces Initiative grant, as well as allow the 300 Broadway Committee and others to proceed with preparing a grant application.
Support?
Okay, got a motion and support? Any further discussion on that?
I don't think that's going to get it done. That doesn't say anything about money.
Yeah, we need to include some.
It also says the citizens' participation, you have to provide for a formal written procedure that will accommodate a timely written response to written complaints and grievances within 15 days. I mean, there's a lot more in here.
Bob, do you know, what's performance and payment bonding?
Security for performing the activities that you're proposing.
Because it says that's required for projects with a total anticipated cost of $250,000 or $250,000 or greater. What is that process?
Well, that's something you would do later.
Right, I'd like to know now. Like what the process is? Like what does that have to detail?
I don't have that here, Mike. I mean,
Oh.
to get a performance bond, you go to a bonding company and you secure the performance of the project.
So
We're not asking
Like,
for a
like we
bond.
require, like we,
We're not asking for a bond for it, so I don't think it applies.
yeah.
Well, no, it says right here, it says, is a requirement for projects with a total anticipated cost of $250,000 or greater. I'm not making it up.
Yeah, so like Bill, when you do projects, you have applicants, you make them sometimes have a performance bond so that the work gets done.
It's at the, after that list
That's
there.
what they're talking about,
It's a
Mike.
list of applications.
So that would be after the grant is awarded.
Yeah, that would, yeah.
Well, there's a whole section here about citizen participation. You may want to take a look at that, what that's going to be
Michelle's
required.
very familiar with that, so I will review that with her. I
But this-
thought she was going to be here, so you know.
But this public participation is what's included for having these public hearings. They really want you to
That's-
push.
That's why it's the first question I asked. Do we have a plan? Because if we don't, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So we have,
And there's a lot.
is there a motion and a second, or is it just?
Yeah.
There is
There's a motion
and
and
a
a second.
second.
Brian made the second.
And then,
Jake made the motion.
Jake made the motion.
Yep.
and then somebody's going to have to amend it to address the money situation.
Or is that decided later?
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Is
know how we,
Is it decided later if they can even put this information together in time? If they can't, then there's no point in worrying about the money. And if
Well,
they
they
can,
have
then you would have to.
they have to know the amount of funds available for it
Yeah.
for the public hearing.
So,
Like, that information has to be on the public notice.
yep, okay, gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot to this.
Can you read the motion?
There's a motion to hold the public hearing on April 6th to discuss the grant application. And what was your last part?
To discuss the, I'm sorry,
It's
to hold a public hearing for the Public Gathering Spaces Initiative grant at our next city meeting, and to, sorry, my brain's tripping offline again, and to direct the 300 Broadway Committee as well as others to proceed with preparing the grant. If we have to have a dollar value, then I can amend my motion to say,
Well, you have
To-
29,000, correct?
Pardon?
You have 29,000?
And hopefully a match, correct? A match of 29,
It's 26,000, but we have some more.
plus 4,000.
So you'd have to know what their figure is to know what comes out of our figure. So if you have 52,000, then we'd only have to provide 150?
No, well, how I read that is it has to be all city funds that has to be dedicated to this grant. It can't be outside donations or the like.
Right.
It has to
But-
be all city funds.
You could donate it back to the city.
Yes.
You
Some way,
could,
shape, or form, yes.
so.
city writes a check, you bring it back.
Right.
You don't.
So I will amend my motion to state to hold the public hearing regarding the Public Gathering Spaces Initiative grant for a city investment up to $200,000.
Still support.
Okay. And any additional discussion on the amendment? Okay.
Are we going to have a chance to vote again on the 20th, after we see all the presentation?
Correct.
Yeah, this
Today
isn't to
is,
submit, this is just to prepare.
I thought you said to submit it.
No,
no, this is just to give them our
To prepare the
approval
application.
To prepare it. So give them the chance to try to get this together and get this ready to go. Nothing gets submitted until we would approve it by the April 20th meeting.
But I thought he said to submit it.
It's the public hearing.
He did not say submit it.
Okay.
Just to prepare and proceed with the grant.
All right. Can we amend it that we will vote then, or we'll vote again on the 20th after we hear the presentation?
Well, it's gonna be the 6th.
The 6th, I'm sorry.
The 6th is gonna be that, and after the
I'd
public
just like it to
hearing,
be really clear what
technically,
we're
we would
voting
vote
on.
after the public hearing, correct? If
So-
we have it on there?
To vote after the public
so
hearing, right.
how about we amend it to say prepare the grant application, but do not submit without a subsequent city commission approval.
Okay,
That's good.
yeah, that's good.
Still support.
So the only request would be before that public hearing, make sure you have every single thing you can and make sure it's really, really clear for the public. And we'll need to get that out to the public so they can come and view that, or we can put it online so they can view that. And
As soon as we get it.
yeah, and we need to make sure that they can submit letters. If they can't make the meeting, they can submit letters. They can submit whatever type of information they want as input.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's the
Understand.
cutoff? When do you need that so that you can upload it and have it available? What's the date?
It needs to be posted for 5 days, right?
Yes.
So it would need to be posted on the 1st.
On the 1st? On April 1st?
Which is a Saturday, so probably do it on Friday, the 31st.
No.
Not,
No.
not to throw a wrench in the system, just a quick question. If we'd be voting for submission, and if we're voting on it the same day as the public hearing, could we hold out till April 20th?
Yeah.
If we're doing
The
it the
point of the
same
public
day?
hearing,
Is for the-
you're
Yeah.
your report is supposed to be malleable. It is your idea. The public hearing is to hone it into the project that it's hopefully meant to be. So, to vote the same day of the public hearing is not wise.
The public hearing is supposed to show them what the project already is.
Yeah, that's just what it says.
That's what it says.
It is, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it can't be changed and tweaked after the fact, too.
But if you do that, then the public doesn't have a chance to speak on it. The whole point of them being able to view it is to view it as
No,
a
it's
complete
not the
package.
entire zip, it's done package. It is those things, but that's
You
not
have to
the
have
entire
another public
package.
hearing.
Well, of course, not the entire package, because there's a lot of range
they
of
still have
activities
to
planned,
see-
you know what I mean?
Yes, it's, here's our idea, public. What do you think? Please tell us what your thoughts are and
No, I'm not
help
saying-
us with this.
Yes.
That's the point of the public hearing. It's
Right,
not
but
to
if
have
you
something
decide to
done and trash
change
it.
I'm
you
just
have to
reading
have
what it's
another
saying here,
public
Brian.
hearing.
Don't hate the messenger. Like, it's just, it's what they want. I don't know.
I read the same thing. I'm getting a very different thing than you are, but that's okay.
All right, so we're going to go with that, the final amended motion then, and just go with the 6th? Or
No, I
if
would
it's same
want it
day,
to be-
can
I
we
would
move to the
want-
20th?
To proceed with a financial on the 20th.
Okay.
Can you amend your?
A financial?
I don't think you need to
Wait.
deal with it really right now. You're just putting in the application.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't think you need an end date in the motion, it's just.
Agreed.
Okay.
It's
Let's-
just, we have to
to
see it
proceed
again
with
before it gets.
I just want to make sure we were clear, because Rita was under the impression we would be
Yeah.
voting
Yeah,
the same
no.
day as the public hearing.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that we're.
Right,
we're
I
good
want to
on
make
that.
sure.
You're not, so.
Hi, sorry, Jason, would you repeat it again?
I knew that was happening.
Poor Jason.
Sorry, I threw that right in there. I just
We're
wanted
really
to clear
tough
on our
order.
timelines
That's
here.
okay.
I don't know how you think I wrote it all down. The motion was to hold a public hearing April 6th to discuss the public gathering spaces initiative grant and to direct the 300 Broadway Committee to proceed with preparing the grant, but do not submit without subsequent commission approval and for a city investment up to $200,000.
Still
Yes.
support.
Okay.
Very good.
Very well done.
So that dollar amount is flexible, because it says
We're
up
gonna
to,
amend it again.
right?
Correct.
Okay.
Hey,
That's all I was worried about.
And I think we're good on discussion at this point, so can I get a roll call vote, please?
You absolutely can, Madam Mayor. Commissioner Hillfrank.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Rorig.
Yes.
Commissioner Ross.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
Good luck, Laura.
you have a lot to do.
And the clock starts. Okay. Item 11B, exemption from requirements of the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act, Resolution 005-2023. Can I have a motion to approve the Resolution 005-2023 exemption from the requirements of the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, a motion and support. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Rorig.
Yes.
Commissioner Ross.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Hillfrank.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Item 12, we did not have any items removed from consent agenda, so on to 13, city managers report.
I will start with the water main update break. Well, last week, phone call at 3:30 in the morning from DPW superintendent advising of the very large water main break that they could not find. My midnight patrol was also out looking for it. Shortly thereafter, it was discovered that it was down at the entrance to Shangri-La in the Cotterville Township, thus not making it the city's issue. It was, yes, city water, but the break was actually in Cotterville Township, so the township had to fix that. I had issued boil water advisories pursuant to Superintendent Ittrich's request, sent out to 2, 4, and 7 radio stations. We sent Facebook. We were a little late getting the notice to the wind system. I apologize for that. I know a lot of people are upset with that. I do sincerely apologize. We did the best we could. It's 3:30 in the morning. They're trying to track it all down. So after 2 days, 3 negative tests for whatever they were looking for, Eagle gave us a thumbs up. We lifted the Rural Water Advisory, and the break was eventually fixed by Cotterville Township. So, not the city's problem, but it was the city's problem because we were scrambling trying to find it. The grant, I want to reiterate what Mr. Moran had said. We attended at the chamber today. They had a big to-do for, T-Mobile issuing us this money. I will reiterate the fact that Michelle Goodrich was instrumental in getting us this money. This was a grant submitted in April of 2022. I believe first and second rounds, somewhere there, we were not awarded the money, and then it was one of those awards that kept resubmitting itself. Finally, they awarded it to us and came out and gave us the paper check down there, which really means nothing as of now, so we're still waiting to get the money, but it was a nice presentation. The people from T-Mobile were fantastic, but again, if you see Michelle out and about, please pat her on the back and tell her what a great job she has done for this city. Also in the way of grants, we were given approval to let you know that we were also awarded the SEMCOG TAP grant in the amount of $188,311. That is for the bike path from West Boulevard onto Fairbanks and around. It's a 20% matching grant. They lowered our matching, so part of the other monies, it's kind of confusing how it all works, but some of the other monies were tied into that. We don't have to put $88,000. It's now 20% matching instead of a 30% matching. So again, win-win. Funds are all accounted for. I don't think we're gonna have to spend a dime out of any funds to do all these grants that are coming in now. So the budget, I've been working very diligently with Mary Ellen. I am happy to say that everything that was submitted for every department has been inputted in there. Revenues were calculated, etc. You will see that when I give you the budget books, but I believe I will be submitting a budget to you that we're about $14,000 or $15,000 into the black, and we haven't even cut anything yet. The good news on that end. The bad news is Mary Ellen says there's still a lot of work to do with some other things that have not been done. A lot of manual journal entries, a lot of entries that have been put into areas they shouldn't be. They have to be moved out. So she said they are dire. And she doesn't know how much longer she's going to be able to do it for Social Security reasons, etc. So at some point in May, as a board, you're going to need to coordinate this with the new city manager. What are you going to do to help Nicole? Because Nicole's overwhelmed as it is. Mary Ellen isn't enough in a part-time capacity. So what do you as a board want to do to help continue getting these books clean? Because you heard Curtis in the audit say 2 full-timers, at least 6 months to fix. And Mary Ellen's, because of her calculation, she'll only be probably here through the end of May. So Nicole is going to need some help. So we're gonna have to figure that out, maybe at budget time, we can talk further about it, but something that needs to be on your radar. I am still sorting through resumes that are coming in for the city clerk. A lot of good applications. The admin clerk, we've had 10 people apply for the admin clerk position. Nicole is sorting through those this weekend. I know she's busy trying to clean up tax payments and the like. We've got 2 applicants for the DPW spot. We've received 4 applications already for the city manager spot. So we are getting applications in for all the positions. Had a city manager search committee meeting last night. I attended. Can't really talk about it because it was all closed session because we discussed questions and such, which you guys will end up getting here shortly. Attended the planning commission. I believe they're going to present at the next thing their recommendation for a company for the master plan update. Also worked, I know we wanted maps for residential, commercial, etc. for the dispensary. I called up to a guy named Trevor for the county GIS, and not sure what else he has to do in the day, but he was so excited when I called and told him what I was looking for. And he's like, I can easily accommodate you with some checks of the boxes, and within a couple hours, I had him emailed to me of everything that we need. So we met at the planning commission, a little misunderstanding of what the law actually said. But next meeting, you'll have all those maps to make an informed decision about a dispensary. Working on the capital improvement plan with Scott Atkins, he said that's something that should be done statutorily. Not really sure when the last time a capital improvement plan has actually been done, but it should be part of the master plan, incorporated and all that. So him and I are also working on that. Still waiting for an update on the DNR grant for the reimbursement of the 272. We forwarded updates to them because they said our property description wasn't up to speed. We got exactly what we needed. The county site was lacking a few things, but if you put the right numbers in the right spot, we finally got the description we needed, forwarded that off, was forwarded to the right people at the DNR, and now we're waiting to hear where we're at with the process. Attended a Stone Guard meeting for the police department, which is a federally driven overtime gig to help the Border Patrol with their efforts in illegal immigrants, etc. The bad news on that one is normally we've got significant monies in the past as a county. That number's decreased significantly because they're refunding, or they're funding it now down to the southern border where they're having more of the issues. So it was a drastic cut for us, but it was still a meeting attended the other day. Search committee done. Almost finished with the POM negotiations through the guys and gals at the PD. I countered what they offered. I will have a full, hopefully by the meeting in April, I will have a resolution for that one. I'm still waiting to hear back from the Teamsters at the DPW. And I'm happy to announce that I am going on vacation after next week, so I'll be gone for a week. So going to Florida with my son for senior spring break, and gonna go enjoy Siesta Key. So I will be gone for a week, but I'll still be in contact for phone calls and the like if anybody has anything.
I'll be on standby.
Take pictures.
Yeah, right. Yes, I will send pictures if you need them. That's all I've got, Madam Mayor.
I'll have bail money ready.
Okay.
I just had a couple questions. Was anybody from the county still helping out, the treasurer? You know, we had them helping out for a few weeks, and maybe we could have got them to help us out more.
I had asked Nicole on that today, and it seems that Molly has helped out the most that she can, and she is not coming down anymore.
Okay. And, you know, I know when we approved the consultant to start working with you, it was said that he was going to help out in the Treasury Department. No?
He is other tasks at this point that he's doing. Mary Ellen was helping me out with the budget. Now that that's done, her and I are going to be work Monday to finalize the numbers. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're meeting with department heads to get everything done. Then she can free herself up to get back into Treasury and help with all the mistakes that are there. Not saying that Scott can't help out in Treasury, but there's other major issues that he's helping with.
And how much longer is he going to be helping out?
As long as we need him. We'll have a contract before you for the next meeting.
That was my next question.
Yes.
So he's probably gonna be working while you're gone there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, I have a lengthy list of things that he can be caught up on.
Mike, we just completed his contract, we just drafted it, and he approved it, so it'll come before your next meeting.
We didn't get it done in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
A couple last minute changes.
So we may have to look at a company like Plant Moran to try to,
Something,
so that's
Yes.
gonna cost.
yes. Yep, that's between $250 an hour.
Has any of that been budgeted in the new budget?
Not yet, it has not. The budget right now is clean without preparing for that, but we can find professional services if that's where, you know, our conversations go during budget time. We can try to add it in there and figure it out. But along the way, just know that you're gonna have budget amendments along the way, so I'm doing what I can do to present a somewhat balanced budget to you during the week of April 18th and 19th.
All right, moving on to Commissioner Privilege and Liaison Reports. Commissioner Clausen.
Well, like you said, we had a planning commission and we addressed the maps. They were beautiful colored maps, except there was some errors in how they were set up. And so we went through where houses were in the industrial district. Residential homes are in the middle of a few of those. And so the chief sent it back up to the county, right? And he's getting you new maps.
Yes, but you're not getting new maps. Where I said we were mistaken with the law is that we thought because the house was in the middle of an industrial zone, you'd have to start from there, but that's not the case. It's from the edge of where the residential zone is at. If there's a house in the middle of an industrial, it's irrelevant. It doesn't come from there. So the maps that I provided the planning commission will work and will be provided to you guys
So
at the
we're
next
treating
meeting.
it as a non-conformity.
What's that?
The residential in the zoning is a non-conformity.
Lawful non-conforming.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Big word for me.
And I want to thank everybody that worked on the grant and give them kudos, heads up. That's all I have.
Hey, Commissioner Bryson.
Two quick things. First, I want to thank and congratulate Michelle for all of the work she's done on all of the grant submissions, not just these 2 awards. But, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of all the effort she puts into trying to get these grants and bring in all this outside money to help our city. And second, I'd like to thank the Historical Society for your very generous offer, and I hope we're in a position where we can take you up on it in the future. So thank you.
Just real quick, gonna thank Michelle for all her hard work and dedication on that grant. That was awesome. 50 grand to the city is no small amount, so hopefully there's more to come. Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Ross.
Yep, congrats again to the swim team, who right now is enjoying their banquet. Thank you for letting me crash the very beginning of it to grab dinner before coming to the meeting. And yes, thank you so much, Michelle. I've sung your praises many times before, but all deserved. And thank you to everybody who came out for the grant. Really, really appreciate it. And I really would love to see great things happen to that building.
All right, Commissioner Rourke.
You. I'd just like to remind everybody that to try as much as they can to shop locally, support our local shops. Remember how much a gallon of gas costs now and the wear on your vehicle, and when deciding to drive to a cheaper price maybe when you have to do 40, 50 miles round trip. And those of you who are electric, you still have to pay to charge your batteries. So do consider that. There's a lot of great stores, shops, locally, restaurants, and so you should support them. Thank you.
Commissioner Hendrick.
All righty, I'm going to say something. Now, we had a fire authority meeting the other night. We had an insurance update on our billing. They came out and did another look at it. It was underinsured, so they upped it. I also asked, since it's the same insurance company, that we're going to have that done by the city. I sent the information to Jim. It hasn't been done in years. That they have been prorating things, but our buildings haven't really been done for years, so they're going to plan on doing it this year. And I sent all the information to Jim from the insurance company. The fire authority was able to hire 4 new people, but we lost 3 people, so we're still doing all right. The budget, the preliminary budget got approved, so that's moving forward. I want to thank those guys. They helped out at the Harson's Island fire. That was a really tough one, but a lot of the guys, they all work so well out there. And they did get the county grant for hoses and some new radios, so we're making some progress on getting everything done. They haven't heard on their generator. We're still waiting on that at the building, but eventually it should come in, and hopefully we'll get it. So that's everything there. And I was glad I had an opportunity to see Michelle at the presentation, so it was nice to be able to thank her in person for her work on that. And I want to thank all you guys, everybody on the staff that's doing a great job trying to get everything cleaned up and keep it moving. That's it.
All right. All right, I just have a few things. In regards to with the water main break, that's also a reminder. If you have a chance, if you look at the WIN system, signing up for notifications, we've used it now in the last several months for weather-related alerts. Now we've used it for the water main break with the boil water alerts. It's a good system. It's free. It only takes a couple minutes to sign up for. You can choose what kind of notifications that you get. So it's just another warning system that people can implement for their own safety and information. In the tot lot, $50,000 for the tot lot on South Main from T-Mobile. Again, I'm thanking Michelle like everybody else. We still have some other grants out there, and it's great that we got the bike path grant as well coming in. I went to the Maritime Days meeting last week at GARS. There were many in attendance, probably 30, maybe just a little bit over. It was just basically brainstorming some new ideas, getting to know some of the people who are kind of going to be taking over in the board positions there. They are having another meeting on March 23rd at GARS at 7 o'clock. So if anybody else is interested in going there and seeing what they've got a lot of good ideas, a lot of things happening there. And the Marine City Little League is also looking for sponsors and people willing to donate if they can to help with bleachers and picnic table projects and costs. And so if you are able to help them with that, if you please contact Marine City Little League and offer if you can do that. And I'd also like to thank the fellow commissioners tonight for offering the opportunity to give them a chance to work on that grant to see what might be possible, what we might be able to do. So thank you, it's appreciated.
Want a motion?
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
So moved.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?